Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title of this video, today's topic will be me answering questions, your guys' questions about working in Italy. Now, if it seems like I'm going through these questions a bit fast, it's because I'm just trying to be a little bit less long-winded and get through as many as possible, because I feel like usually when I do Q&As, I get so many questions and I end up answering like 1% of them just because I talk too much. So I'm really going to try to get through to all of the questions that I feel like I can answer, and so that's why I'm kind of Speedy Gonzalez. Okay, so there's one question in particular that I wanted to answer first because I think it goes with a really good premise of the video. I do want to put a premise out there, and it was from an Italian asking why on earth anybody would even want to come to Italy to work. And girl, I'm gonna answer you, and then I'm gonna like turn my premise around on everybody else. I feel like the only reason that somebody would really want to work in Italy is because they want to live there. I mean, I can see a million reasons why somebody might want to live in Italy: for the atmosphere, the cost of living, low cost of living, the high standard of life, that which is la bella vita. You want the bella vita, but obviously you can't obtain the bella vita unless you're working. So I feel like that's the only reason why a foreigner would want to work in Italy, truly. I'm not doing this Q&A to make anybody believe that finding a job in Italy is easy. Actually, the first thing I want to tell you guys is it's going to be so freaking hard. As a person that has spent half a decade here now, who I think you guys can tell, I'm really invested in Italy. And I have to tell you, the first and only time where I ever thought to myself, wow, I'm tired of this shit and I want to go home, was when I was looking for my first job, my first real job after graduation. It was the most depressing and annoying and frustrating time of my life. So the whole search for a job in Italy is not easy at all. Please remember that this country has 30% youth unemployment, and that is higher in some places of the country. So that's like almost half of the young people here don't have jobs. So you really got to take that into consideration. Finding a job in Italy will not be easy. This was a question that was repeatedly asked to me, so let me just make it as clear as I possibly can. Finding a job in Italy is not easy. Finding a job in Italy is not easy. Finding a job in Italy is not easy. And I think that I have to highlight that the Tia Taylor success story is literally the fact that I was the right person doing the right thing at the right time in the right place. Like, very specific, and I'm the kind of person who is super determined. I think that a normal, rational person, I'm irrational, would have given up by now and would have left. So I'm in a very particular situation. I don't want people to think that this is easy and that this is cut out for everyone. Literally, you should only be working in Italy if, one, for some reason you find yourself there, two, because you want to live in Italy. That's really it. Only look for a job in Italy if you really have a connection with Italian culture and want to live here. Because for any other reasons, if you want to just make your dreams come true and some kind of like fairy tale shit, that's probably not going to happen in Italy. Okay, so getting into the other questions and done with my premise, the first question that most of you asked is, what is my job? So I had made a video a couple months ago. Well, no, it was probably almost a year ago now, where I talked about my job in the digital marketing field and exactly in depth what I was doing. Back then, I was a digital campaign manager with extra emphasis on the paid part of social media advertising. So when companies pay to put their ads on different social media platforms, I was the one that was like managing and reporting that in a junior position in a multinational company. Things have changed because although I really did like that job and I was really interested in it, a really cool opportunity kind of presented itself to me in around February, March. Without giving too much away, basically this lady who is extremely successful in the advertising industry, and we kind of like knew each other. She follows my YouTube channel actually, approached me because she was starting a new company in Italy and she wanted me to be a part of it. And so she hired me. That's making a really long story short, but she hired me and now I'm working the most amazing job ever. She's basically my mentor. I'm her mentee. Literally, that's even the kind of contract I have. She's an amazing person with a lot of insight on the advertising industry, especially here in Europe. And since we're working in a smaller startup setting, I first of all have more time to do like my stuff. Like, she recognizes the fact that I also am an influencer as a very important part of what we're doing as a digital marketing agency. I didn't say that. She started a digital marketing, digital advertising agency here in Italy. So she recognizes that me being an influencer is really helpful to the company as well. So she allows me to have enough free time for me to continue doing my influencer thing so I can stay in the loop of what's happening, stay connected with influencers that we would possibly be working with, keep my hand on the pulse of what's happening. But at the same time, within the company, like, I'm doing the same things that I was doing when I was working in multinational companies, but instead of being a little cog in a huge machine, it's all me. When there's a digital advertising campaign, it's not like when I was in the multinational company where I was just like doing the reporting or like clicking a button to turn something on or off, like a little job that junior level people do. Now, when there's a digital marketing campaign, it's all me. I'm the one that scouted the influencers. I'm the one that made first contact. I'm the one that negotiated the terms. I'm the one that finalized the contracts. I'm the one that is going back and forth with the influencers while there's a campaign going. I'm the one that's collecting all the data after the campaign. I'm the one that's doing the reporting. Like, when we say we did a digital marketing campaign for client X using this method, that's all on me. So the company just started. We started in April and now it's September and we've got a couple clients and things are going really well. Like, that's going well. My influencer part is going well. That's pretty much why you see that while I do have a lot of free time to be on social media and do my influencer stuff, you very rarely see me in an office. It's because it's a new startup company with pretty flexible hours. But then once a week, you guys see me in Rome because the company is actually based in Rome. So once a week we have like physical meetings in Rome to talk about clients and what's next. So yeah, my title is Head of Digital Talent. And it's, what can I say? It's awesome. It was a very unorthodox opportunity that literally fell into my lap, but it's really the best thing that has happened to me in the past. Like, since getting into the Bocconi, this is probably the best thing that has happened to me. So I'm very happy for my job, and I hope that makes it a little bit clearer. I know there's probably some of you guys that don't really get it. I feel like if you watch my what's my job video and then you come back and you see this, maybe you'll get it a little bit more. But the digital industry is really new. My expertise, my title, my area is pretty new. And also the fact that you throw it in, I'm not in a traditional company setup. I'm actually working in a startup, mostly remotely. I know that that'll like boggle people's minds and people won't be able to understand, but I took 5 minutes to explain it, so I hope that it's clear enough. Moving on to some of the other questions that I think will be a little bit less complicated and easy to answer. So, going really fast through these, again, like I said, just to make sure I get to everyone. In the finance sector, do you know if people get paid overtime? I don't know specifically for the finance sector, but I know in general that overtime pay is pretty rare in Italy. And even when you do have overtime pay, like it's written into your contract, there's a cap. Like, I did my internship at a company, one of the rare companies that gave you overtime pay, and there was a cap, and people almost always worked more overtime than they were actually paid for. What is your typical work schedule? Okay, so when I was working in an office, I would get in around 9:30, and I would leave pretty sharply at 6:30 on the dot. It depends a lot though what kind of office you're working in and what the culture of work is there. I remember when I was doing my internship at a really big, prestigious multinational fashion brand, like us interns were expected to get in there at 9:30, 9:45 latest, and even at 6:45, which is technically when you were supposed to leave, people would kind of like look at you sideways, so you knew that you kind of had to work later. Whereas in my last job, it was pretty much a lot more laid back and nobody really cared as long as you were getting your work done. I found that in Italy, there's this thing that people do that I don't really understand, where they associate, or some people associate, with working longer equaling working harder, even if you're working for a while not doing anything. I've only really seen that here. Usually in America, everybody tries to get as much done in the least possible amount of time. And so you're rewarded for getting as much stuff done well in the shortest period of time, where in Italy, for some reason, people really think that the fact that you were in the office until 8 p.m., even if you weren't really doing anything productive, that will look better to the boss. And so you'll have some people that are like that, but you just have to kind of like make your decision on what kind of person you want to be. Do you want to be that person that spends your whole life in the office, or don't you? But the thing is, once you create a habit, other people in the work environment will understand that habit. If they see that you're the kind of person that will stay until 8, they might kind of take advantage of that. Whereas they know you're the type of person that leaves at 6:30, they'll also take that into account as well. Somebody said to me once that if you leave at 6:30, your bosses won't renew your contract. That is a bull-faced lie. If you are a valuable worker and you make yourself valuable and you finish your work and you hand in high quality work, your contract's gonna get renewed, even if you learn how to balance your work life correctly. So, as I was saying, the real answer is that it depends on the office and like the workplace environment that there is. The short answer is 9 to 6, 9:30 to 6:30. Now that I'm doing work for the startup remotely, I just know that at least once a week, we have a call. Another day of the week, we're usually gonna have a meeting in Rome. And then anywhere in between that, there can be client meetings in other cities, or something could come up where we'd have to meet each other for something else. And I usually sort my work day as working remote as this. Usually I can get most of the stuff done for contract work, my real job working under my boss, in like the first 3 hours of the day. From 9 to 11, 9 to 12, I get all of her stuff done. Then after lunchtime, I'll work on like some content creation. And then like 5 to 8, I'll see if there's anything left for me to do for her, or anything extra I can do, like maybe something needs sorting. Maybe I can make an Excel to make something else that we did more organized to like prepare for the next meeting. So my work day usually goes like that. What is the interview process like? Okay, so you usually hand in your CV within a couple of days. I'd say even within the week, if it's during a normal period, not a holiday period or something like that. You'll get a response back within a week to get your first interview. There could be 1 or 2 follow-up interviews after that first one. So we're looking at 2 to 3 total interviews. And then after like the third interview, they might ask you to do like an example task to see how you work. And then if that goes well, they usually hire you. Do you think it's hard to find a job in Italy? Yes. Hai trovato lavoro da sola o tramite un ufficio di collocamento, se si può sapere? Io l'ho trovato da sola. Io ho trovato che gli uffici che dovrebbero aiutarti a trovare un lavoro non mi hanno fatto questo granché di aiuto, sia all'università sia... Ok, ho solo provato con quello di università. Non ho mai trovato con uno tramite la città o il comune, e quello di università onestamente non mi ha aiutato così tanto. Are you the only POC at your job? Actually, no, and I've never have been. Okay, at my current job, technically, if we're just talking about ethnicities, yes, because at my current job, there's like 5 of us. But we're all women, and one of us is LGBT+, so I think that's pretty diverse for, Italy. At all of my other jobs in the multinational companies, like at my old job, I had an Italian coworker who was of South American descent. Her mom was South American, and so she was visibly South American. And at my internship, I had an Italian of Asian descent. Her parents were Chinese, so I was never the only POC at my job, but I usually am the only Black person, and this comes with its own set of weird incidences, which I talked about in my tokenism Get Ready With Me video. Does language/cultural barriers still get in the way sometimes, even after 5 years? It doesn't get in the way in any way significantly. Like, it's never hindered me from doing my work, and it's never made me unhappy in the workplace. But sometimes, like, jokes and stuff, I just don't get it, or I just miss it, or my jokes won't translate, stuff like that. But it's never hindered me like that seriously, no. How did you go about negotiating your salary? So I don't don't know why people tell you to always negotiate your salary. Y'all, if you're getting your very first office job, there's nothing to negotiate. You're just trying to get your foot into the door. So my first job, there was no negotiation that went on there. For my second job, for the job I'm in now, I was really lucky because, first of all, I was scared because, as I already said, what I'm doing now is very untraditional. It could go amazingly or it could end like tomorrow. You never really know. Whereas my other job was this big multinational firm. I really liked my coworkers. My coworkers and my bosses really liked me. I felt pretty valued. And I mean, they even told me that they had intentions to give me a contratto indeterminato after. So it was a very, very hard decision to leave, but this helped me with my other job in saying, hey, I really, really like you, and this seems like a really amazing opportunity, but I'd like to have minimum, my bases covered. And when I say minimum, my bases covered, I mean actually a little bit more covered than they are, because it would be silly to leave one job for another less stable job with the same exact conditions. So there I was able to negotiate myself a nice salary with some good terms. And yeah, you really need to have something to bargain with. I mean, it's a lot easier to bargain if you already have a set, stable job and a good work history and things that make you a harder candidate to find. But yeah, you have to have those requisites first. If you're just trying to get your first job and negotiate your salary, I don't really know how successful you'll be with that. Given the average wages are low and the cost of living high, is it possible to make a living in Milan? I think that the average wages with respect to the cost of living, as I've said in my cost of living in Milan video, you can definitely live in Milan on an average salary, but I don't think you would be able to save, and I don't think you would be able to do much extra, You'd be able to get by and maybe have a couple 300, 400 extra euros a month, maybe, not guaranteed. And I mean, what can 400 and 300 euros get you all the time? So, I mean, if you want more, what can I say? You probably have to work more. I have always really been working 2 jobs. Even when I had my office job, I was still doing my influencer thing on the side, which gave me a good cushion. My influencer thing kind of doubles my pay, really. I make a decent amount of money, but I mean, I also technically work 2 full-time jobs. So I guess that's kind of something you got to take into account. I mean, this is the economy. This is the reality that we're living in today. I don't know how possible it is to find a job that's really going to let you live your dreams, have money, and then extra. I don't know how possible that is for our generation. I don't know how possible that is in Italy. I think it's pretty impossible, but I could be wrong. To answer the question, is it possible to make a living in Milan? Yes, but you're not going to be saving much. What jobs can I get without speaking fluent Italian? Probably an off-the-books tutor in your mother tongue, or if you want to be a nanny or some kind of domestic worker. Do you find employers in your field prefer English speakers? If you're just an English speaker with no knowledge of Italian, no, that's going to be a detriment to you. I think that there's this huge misconception that, I don't know why, but one of the most frequently asked questions to me is do you have to know how to speak Italian to work in Italy? And I'm just kind of yes. I mean, do you have to know English to work in America? Yes. Do you have to know French to work in France? Yes. So why wouldn't you have to know Italian to work in Italy? If you are a native English speaker, it will be a huge plus because it's a in-demand skill. The skill of speaking English is in demand in Italy, and the supply of people that are of the native level is very low. There are lots of Italians that have a proficient working knowledge of English or basic level of English, but it's very rare to find native English speakers that have a proficient working level of Italian. So in that sense, you will be more in demand, but it will be really useless if you don't speak Italian. What language was your interview in? It was in Italian. I'm a marketing major and want to move to Rome. Advice, will I find a job? Girl, I don't know. In Milan, the situation is much different than in other places in Italy. And like I already said, it wasn't easy for me to find my first job. And like I said, I'm an immigrant that's already here with my papers already sorted out, that speaks the language, that went to one of the most prestigious schools with a degree relevant to, a lot of fields and years of experience. And it was hard for me to find a job. So take that for what you guys will. Do you think the less structured work hierarchy is helpful or no? I think it is so much helpful. I think it is so helpful. Seeing the reality of working in a big multinational company where there's a lot of layers and a lot of people in between you and maybe your closest boss. Because, you know, if it's like this, where the CEO is here and then the other chief executive officers are here and then department heads, you know, you get lost in a web. It's very hard for the people that need to be making decisions to be informed about everything that's going on to make the right decisions. Whereas if you're in like a smaller reality where me, the least senior, least experienced, most operative person on the team has a direct link with the CEO to be able to say, hey, this is what is happening. This is what I think we need to give my opinion. I find that it works so much better. Things are so much faster, and you have that the person in the decision-making position can make better decisions because they're more informed and more involved. Yeah, I think the hierarchical structure of firms really needs to like be looked at again, because the whole executive management, department head, sometimes things just get too big to work. Too big to fail? Nah, more like too big to work. Okay, so these are all from the same person. What is an in-demand sector for expats besides English teaching or au pair? Again, unless you know Italian, none. If you know Italian, then pretty much any sector where English is relevant, because then you can find being like copywriter in advertising. I'd say there's a big demand for foreign people because a lot of the companies, especially in Milan, are multinationals and they have offices in other markets, or they have markets in other markets. And so say you have a large Chinese market, it will be really useful to have a native Chinese person who also speaks Italian and is familiar with Italian culture. You'll see that in like the luxury fashion industry, which is very big. Another one is like if you are Middle Eastern and we're looking at like more like sports cars, maybe there's a lot of Italian sports cars, things Ferrari, Lamborghini, Maserati. A huge market for those would be the Middle Eastern and Arab markets. So if you're from there, but you also speak Italian, you could be a useful asset. Why? Because you can give insight into the market that the native Italians wouldn't probably have. Same thing goes for me as an American. The Americans are a huge market for a lot of different sectors, and so that made me pretty valuable. All depends on if you speak Italian though. Where to find job posting besides LinkedIn or Indeed? Honestly, those were the only two that I used. What does Italian resume look like? You guys should watch my video on Italian resumes. Do you have to get special headshots like actors? I didn't. Is it easy for an international student to find an English tutoring job? Yes, it is. Do many international Bocconi students go back home because they can't get a job and permesso? I know of people that it has happened to. I guess I'll say I'll know more people that left than that stayed. Hey Tia, could you comment on finding work in the South, companies based in Calabria? I honestly have no idea. I really can't comment on anywhere but Milan. Can someone who doesn't have any connection, mostly through family, really make it in Italy? Well, I don't have any connections, or I didn't start out with any connections, and this is where I'm going, this is where I'm at. Consigli per trovare un lavoro dal neolaureato e senza essere sottopagato o un anno di stage? Secondo me smetti di cercare di altri stage. Se tu hai già un anno di stage, e immagino che, dato che sei italiana, probabilmente hai fatto 5 anni di università, quindi la triennale più la specialistica, io direi che dopo un anno di stage non ti servono di più, non ti servono altri. Io direi già di iniziare a cercare un lavoro, perché di solito loro chiedono 2 anni di esperienza. Tu hai già uno, più una specialistica. Guarda, il mio primo lavoro voleva 3 anni di esperienza, che io avevo tipo 1 anno e mezzo di altri stage, più il mio YouTube, che io mettevo sempre come un lavoro, perché alla fine del giorno avevo la partita IVA, stavo fatturando e stavo pagando le tasse, quindi io l'ho sempre detto come anche questo è un lavoro. E ho usato quello come la mia esperienza. Non avevo 3 come volevano, però avevo 2 in altri modi utili, più tutto il resto della mia candidatura. Quindi non guardare troppo a quello che stanno dicendo e guardare a come vendere te stessa. Questo è un skill che tante persone manca. Il skill di vendere te stessa. Devi guardare te stessa e capire come tu puoi essere di valore di quell'azienda, anche se non hai quei 3 in particolare anni di esperienza. What is the average salary in Italy and what is considered a high salary? It depends on where you are, because I know people like live on like 700 euros a month in like Sicily. That would be impossible in Milan. I can only speak for Milan, and in Milan the average salary is between 1,300 euros to 1,500 euros net. And a high salary would be like 2,000 euros or anything higher than that a month. Why do Italians have a tough time finding jobs? What about the system is broken? Ooh, I wish I had enough minutes in this video to answer that question. In short, we'll just say that the Italian system is very harsh on the business side. It's really hard to start a business here. Taxes are very high. The cost of operating is very high. Businesses aren't incentivized to even start. If you ask any Italian on the street, you will never find one that says, oh, my dream is to make a company or to start my own business. Never. Whereas in America, you know, that's not the case. Lots of people have their little side hustles on the side while they're working. No, an average Italian's mindset and dream is to find a contratto indeterminato, which is a unlimited contract. Basically, it has no end date and you basically can't get fired. That's everybody's dream. So like if everybody's dream is to have this permanent fixed contract that costs companies a lot to make, you'll have that there aren't a lot of companies and there are way too many workers. So supply, demand, unemployment in Italy. That is a super simplification of years of history and an entire economic system, but I think that's the crux of the argument. Italy is not a business-friendly country, and if there aren't businesses, obviously there won't be jobs. I'm relocating to Italy after I graduate with my bachelor's this coming year. I do not speak Italian, but I'm currently learning. My question is, what % do you think of people who live in Italy speak English? I read this article that 20% of people self-reported themselves as being fluent in English. And the article also said, which I think is true, is that people tend to be overconfident in their English speaking skills. From my experience in Milan, I would say the percentage of people in Milan that speak functioning English, like there goes past hello and goodbye, would be like 10%. I cannot stress enough how important it is to know Italian if you plan on living here. And I mean, like, it's not even a bad thing. I mean, why would it be a bad thing? If you're going to Italy, you should learn how to speak Italian. I don't know. Will you ever return to the US if presented with a great work opportunity? It would have to be pretty fucking great because, I don't know, in such a short time here in Italy, I was able to start pretty close to the top. I'm not at the top yet, but I'm dealing with people who are. And so unless I get an experience like that in America, which I don't even know. How long are typical work contracts? You have a couple types of contracts. The main two are determinato and indeterminato. Determinato are usually for a year at most, but sometimes they can be for 6 months. And indeterminato are like long-term, endless. They don't have an end date and you'd have to really screw up to be able to be fired. Other contract types are like apprendistato. I have an apprendistato contract and I like it because it's more than a year. Like they're usually from 2 to 3 to 4 years, and they're helpful to the business because it's a way for the business to employ young people. Only people under the age of 35 can get them and not pay so much in taxes because there are like tax breaks for people that hire apprentices. And it's good for the young person because you have a contract that's pretty stable with good requirements at the end of it. I think it's a very useful contract to have, and I hope they don't abolish them anytime soon. It's helpful both to the company and to the apprentice. So those are the only 3 contracts that I've ever had experience with. Anzi, I've never had a contratto indeterminato. As a Black woman, did you find it hard to make friends or find a group you belong to? I actually didn't. And I don't know if it's just because of me. I think that for some reason people are attracted to me in the friend way. I don't really know why, because I find myself to be kind of awkward, but for some reason people like me. And so no, I've never had trouble making friends here. It's weird. Do you speak in English or Italian at your workplace? At my current workplace, it is literally 50-50. Most of our clients don't speak English, obviously. And so anytime we're working with clients, we're speaking in Italian. When we're within the team, it depends. Usually if I'm talking to an Italian coworker, I'll speak to them in Italian. If I'm talking to my boss, who's an English native speaker, I'll talk to her in English because it would just be weird for 2 native English speakers to speak to each other in Italian. I don't know. So it's really a mix. In all of my other jobs though, the language in the workplace was Italian. Will they hire you with a student visa? I don't know if they technically can. For some jobs they can. For stage and internships, I believe they can hire you with a student visa. Yeah. But for a real job with a real contract, for a non-internship role, for a job, I'm pretty sure the minimum contract for a worker would be 40 hours a week, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not sure. And on a student visa, you can only work up to 20, so I don't think they can. The most you can get with a student visa is probably an internship. What is your level of Italian? How do you get by in a professional workplace when Italian is the second language for you? I get by pretty well because, I mean, I understand everything. I don't know in terms of the A to C European framework what level I am. I know I passed a B2 exam my first year of university, so I'd say I'm more than a B2, but I feel like those tests don't really mean anything. I think I'm somewhere between a B and a C. I understand everything. I'm able to get all of my ideas across in Italian. It's just the writing that trips me up. I still make small grammatical errors, and this hasn't really gotten in the way because obviously the people that you work with know that you're not Italian, and so it's not something that's gonna And also in these multinational environments, Italians often have to write in English to other departments, and I mean, they make the same mistakes in English that I make in Italian, so it's all good. We're all in the same boat. And if I have to write to somebody that I don't know, like a really important email, I just ask my Italian co-worker if they can look it over and spot my mistakes. And they do the same for me in English. So actually, as long as you have a decent level of Italian, I'm not saying your Italian has to be perfect, but if it's decent, you shouldn't have any problems. You don't pay taxes for both countries, right? No, I do not pay taxes in both countries. I am liable to report tax to both America and Italy, and then in the end, I only pay taxes in Italy. I talked about this a bit in like 2 videos ago. Siestas, do you get one during work, and if so, for how long? In Milan, we don't do siestas. A Milano si lavora. I think in other places they do them though, like in Marche, I know they do them, but not everywhere. Where can you get information about work visa qualifications? I heard it's different in every province. Yeah. Every province, more like every immigration office. I don't have an answer for this question. There's no uniformity in the Italian immigration system, and so there's no answer. What are the different types of contracts and what's the minimum wage? I already talked about some of the different types of contract, and there is no minimum wage in Italy, no official minimum wage. What is the usual amount of vacation in Italy? It depends. Between 20 and 30 days. I think at my other job, it was like 26 or 28. At my current job, it's like around 20. But again, I work really flexible. I have a lot of time to myself, and it's just a matter of coordinating with my boss. So yeah, it depends. The only thing about Italy, and I don't know if they do this in other places, is the fact that not all of your holiday, you end up getting to choose it. I talked about it in another video, but say there's a holiday on a Tuesday, the company can choose to close on that Monday, and that Monday will count as your vacation day. Did you get to choose that the office was going to be closed as a worker? No, but you still have to give away your holiday, your vacation day for that. So those were all the questions. I got through a lot of them, and I hope that this video was informational to you. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want more informational videos about living here in Italy, be sure to, hit the notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a video. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Mwah.